we've got the very first matchup of the Canberra Fortnightly Legacy event.
Legs?
So, yeah, we've started organising fortnightly playtest card events here in Canberra for Legacy, just because the format was a bit dry and non-existent, and definitely had enough interest to start playing. So I've got with me Angus Mackay and Lachlan Saunders.
Hi.
So.
So our first matchup we have here is Jacob Golding on Hightide on the left and Tony, not even going to try that last name, on Merfolk on the right.
I think it's Mallamace.
Mallamace.
He wouldn't care. You can just call him whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I put him in as Anthony because he wanted me to. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So Lachlan, you probably know more about these decks than any of us. So, want to give us a quick rundown?
So this matchup is one of the matchups in Legacy that's mostly just island based. I mean basic islands. Like these decks are just playing almost entirely basic island. Tony is spicing it up a little bit with Cabin of Souls, and maybe you can see some Wastelands. And I've definitely known Merfolk players to not shy away from a good old Mutavault. But Jacob's game plan is to just play up to around 4 islands, and then cast a spell called Hightide, which doubles the mana production of all islands this turn.
So it'll double Tony's as well?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tony will be, if he has any kind of instant speed interaction there, you can see the player showing his hand to the camera. It looks like he has 3 True Name Nemesises in hand with an Aether Vial, so he's got a way to deploy those despite only having 1 land in his hand.
So we see Jacob starting off with a Sensei's Divining Top, so pretty standard, I think, turn 1 play.
Yeah, they either try to play out a cantrip or play out a top. That's all. You can see he's just going to spend the first probably 2 to 3 turns like just sculpting his hand and setting up for a big combo turn. He really wants to avoid getting dazed and avoid getting Force of Will out of Tony. Those are the only things he cares about. Curse Catcher can be very annoying, and with that Aether Vial sitting on 1, that's something he's got to consider. But he's definitely just gonna hang out and try to sculpt a hand that kills Tony.
So what's so Jacob Hightide produce some more mana, and is it the so he goes to play Candelabra?
Jacob's playing a Candelabra of Tornos version of the deck, which Candelabra is a 1-cost artifact that has X tap, untap after target X lands. So once he has Hightide going, all of his islands will tap for double, which allows him to untap them all and then tap them for even more mana via the Candelabra. After he's got all that mana, he's looking for a very specific draw 7 called Time Spiral, which is a 6 mana draw 7, 4 blue. You can untap up to 6 lands, and each player shuffles their hand and graveyard and draw 7. So it allows him to not only get basically a free draw 7, but it actually gains him mana because his islands are having for so much more.
Yeah, that's definitely a positive thing to be able to cast it, untap everything, and have everything tap for double or triple essentially.
Mm-hmm. One thing I've noticed in Tony's hand is a Chalice of the Void. Now this is an insanely brutal card for Jacob. If Jacob doesn't have any type of counter magic here, that Chalice is going to just completely shut his game plan down.
And here it comes.
Yeah, here it comes. We can see he has a Cunning Wish in hand, so I don't know if he has a Force of Will or Disrupting Shoal or any kind of instant in his sideboard to be able to stop this Chalice. Yeah, you can see he's examining his wish board now. Yeah, these Hightide decks play Cunning Wish main, which is an instant that allows you to get an instant from your sideboard. So a lot of their sideboard is devoted to wish targets to kind of like get them out of narrow situations. And I think he may have allowed the Chalice to resolve. Yeah. And
Chalices on 1.
yeah, common wish targets in the sideboard for this deck include Hercule's Recall and Rebuild,
Yeah.
which are ways to get those artifacts out of play. So he doesn't have to worry about it here. But Tony's going to amass a pretty quick clock. He's got one Lord, and those true name nemesis Jacob has no answer to, obviously, because the chalice resolves. So they're gonna kind of close out this game pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Chalice on 1. I mean, it shuts off his essential whole combo
Yeah,
game plan.
It's tough. It's tough.
So it's a sticky situation he's got himself into. I mean, we'll see how it turns out, but yeah, Chalice on 1.
Yeah.
I mean, Chalice on 1 against a lot of decks in Legacy it's a pretty brutal.
Yeah, there's a lot of control based decks and even aggressive based decks that tend to put chalices and ancient tombs and city of traders into their deck as a way to just shut off those cantrip based decks we see a lot.
What did he just Cunning Wish for?
So he's Cunning Wish for Rebuild. So I think his plan here is you can see multiple turnabouts in his hand, or at least one turnabout there, and he has another Merchant Scroll. So I think we're going to see a plan here of end of turn Rebuild, and maybe setting himself up for a Hightide combo turn. He's elected to Merchant Scroll here for a Force of Will, just that little bit of protection, because he's not quite dead on board.
Yeah.
The Hightide decks tend to definitely make sure they're using their life as a resource.
Yeah.
They're just going to sit there and take as much damage as they can without dying, and then when their opponent is threatening lethal the following turn, that's when they're going to pull the trigger and really kind of try to combo off.
And he really needs to do it in one turn essentially, because once he puts that Hightide down, it's
Definitely,
great for a turn.
all the ways he has to gain additional cards through Time Spiral or Sorcery Speed, so he doesn't really have an opportunity to go off in his opponent's turn. There is actually a variant of Hightide using a card Reset that untaps all of target player's lands for blue, but you can only play during your opponent's turn. So it uses Snapcaster Mages, it uses resets to get even more untaps from your lands, from your Hightide producing lands, and yeah, I'm not actually sure how it wins. I think it uses Cunning Wish to get a Blue Sun Zenith and just blast your opponent for a lot, but I'm actually unsure on how it recoups the cards. Maybe it even uses Quicken. I'm not sure. Quicken Time Spiral.
Yeah.
I love a good Quicken. I've been trying to play that so hard in the Reanimator. One day I'll get there.
Yeah. I remember many standard games were decided by a Quicken Supreme Verdict. Return to Ravnica block.
Yeah.
So you can Jacob baiting with the preordain here.
And that's it for game 1. I mean, it was dead on board next turn.
Yeah. I don't know whether I would have gone with the Merchant Scroll line, because given you were just taking so much damage and then you were taking that same amount of damage next turn, maybe just going for the end of turn Rebuild, and if your opponent has the Force of Will, your opponent has the Force of Will. There's not a lot you can do about it.
There's no other outs, so just go for.
Yeah, just
Go ham.
Yeah.
So, not having deck lists on us has been a bit of an issue, but I mean, sideboarding for Hightide against Merfolk?
Yeah, I don't think Hightide not really going to board anything in.
No, because it's a wish board.
Yeah.
So.
They want to keep as many copies in the sideboard as possible to make their Cunning Wishes that much more valuable. The only thing the Merfolk deck really has is Chalices and Forces and Curse Catchers. They really only have that counterspell based protection. So I don't expect a lot of changes from Tony. He has some dead cards he like to board out. I saw some Vapor Snags there that are not really ideal against the deck with 0 creatures.
Yeah.
Maybe one Palinchron, and that's not really a creature you want to bounce. So you can see thumbing through his deck, looking for any kind of possible weak cards. Yeah, Jit, another card that is based on creature combat.
Quite irrelevant.
Yeah, not really what you're after here. It can speed up your clock, but you just want Force of Wills. You just want those Chalices and those Curse Catchers. That's all you're interested in.
Because once you've got a couple of tree name nemesis on the board, then you're pretty much set.
Yeah,
You're just going to be slightly quicker.
It looks like Tony has a quite substantial storm-based sideboard plan. You can see Mindbreak Traps. I do expect some amount of Flusterstorm and Spell Pierce. We have seen in the Legs League in the past couple of weeks, Storm has been a very popular choice from people, like up to 4 to 5 people playing it per week. So perhaps he predicted that metagame and chose the sideboard kind of based on that.
It was definitely a big surprise coming to the first week of the event and seeing 3 or 4 Storm decks turn up and not having, I mean, you have a sideboard for Storm in a lot of decks, no matter what kind of thing, because
it's just so quick.
Certain cards are relevant
Yeah.
in several matchups. So, but yeah, seeing 3 or 4 decks in that first week was a definite surprise to myself as a Death and Taxes player. If I can shut off Storm, it's an easy win. But
Yep.
if I can't, it's game over.
Yep.
But yeah, no, definitely seem to have been prepared. So Jacob just started off with an island.
Yep. Yeah.
So
He looks like he's got a brainstorm.
Yeah.
If I were him, I would resist the urge, even though you have 2 to brainstorm end of turn, especially when you have that
is he gonna
that
force?
fetch land.
Is he gonna? Yep. Okay.
I think we're gonna forcible on the Aether Vial is definitely an interesting choice here. Tony's fighting over it. He values the ability to basically play at instant speed and play with uncounterability on his creatures, and Jacob finding another Force of Will off this brainstorm, but he's going to devote a lot of resources to fighting over this Aether Vial if he wants.
Definitely, that seems like a lot.
Oh my god.
So they're trying to establish a stack.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once you've put one Force of Will on the Aether Vial and your opponent's forced back, it feels like you're kind of almost obliged to keep spending resources.
Yeah.
Considering your opponent has committed resources into protecting it and obviously values it. Maybe you can gain some information off that Mutavault that Tony doesn't actually have an island in hand. He just kept a 1-land Aether Vial hand, hoping to be able to play his creatures off that. And I think that's what Jacob's like thinking about right now. He's like, all right, well, my opponent really wants this Aether Vial. Let's examine the reasons why they really want this Aether Vial, and one of those might be a blueless hand, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that's not something you really want in.
No, but you can see a Wonderwine hub in Tony's hand. There.
Here we go.
And yeah, he's just kind of the way Jacob's played this. He's just kind of let himself be naked to Chalice.
I mean, he opened himself up to that.
Yeah.
I mean, would it have been more appropriate to expect the Chalice to come down and potentially save the forces for Chalice? Because I mean, you can vial in creatures, but it takes turns to tick up, obviously.
Yeah.
Whereas that could be just enough time for Jacob to establish the sort of hand he wants to be able to combo off.
Yeah. He's definitely left himself wide open to Chalice here, and there's really not a lot he can do. He just kind of has to sit here and hope that Tony's plan is to animate these Mutavaults and take him down that way. But as the Wonderwine hub comes off the top here, I think we're just going to see oh no! All right. Well, that's an interesting choice not to deploy. I guess he can't deploy Curse Catcher anymore. Curse 1. Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not too much of a beating for,
it's
for
not,
Tony, though. I mean,
You see him showing it to Jacob as if saying,
well,
whoops.
Yep. I mean, he's certainly not gonna put it on the stack, so
Yeah.
he may as well be revealed.
so we got Merchant Scroll.
Yep. We'll probably see a Cunning Wish here.
Yeah.
Getting that rebuild again and trying to combo off that way.
Got to do it somehow, I think.
Yeah, his hand, I'm pretty sure is Hightide and a Time Spiral, which is like kind of ideal, but he does have to draw an island to kind of make that actually work.
To be able to not necessarily guarantee it, but at least put him better position, and he needs to be able to cast that time spiral at some point. And
Jacob going down to 12 after taking another 2 Mutavaults.
Yeah. Yeah, this is another downside of the candle build. It just makes you just so much. It hurts so much more with Chalice. You have all these 1-drop artifacts that really are just not going to cut it against the Chalice of the Void.
No, definitely not. And I mean, Mutavaults, they don't look that threatening just looking at them, but when you've got, you know, several beating down at you and you've got nothing to do about the facts, it I think could potentially be a quick match for Tony.
Yeah, now we have a Lord here speeding up the clock even more. Tony also not having any islands in play, so if Jacob does manage to get this Hightide going, Tony's not going to benefit from it. But I believe Jacob is actually facing lethal next turn, so I'm not really sure how he's gonna be able to come back, given he doesn't actually have time to cast both the Cunning Wish, the Rebuild, and a Hightide.
So here comes the Cunning Wish.
Kind of hoping against hopes that he has
Nothing.
something in there that's 0 mana.
I think he's doing what you've just done, is calculating whether he has the chance to do it all.
Yeah.
And,
well, he can get that snap out of his sideboard, and if he manages to draw another Cunning Wish, he would be able to snap the Lord, take 4, go to 4, and then Cunning Wish for the Rebuild, and maybe string something together, but it does seem unlikely, as he will be facing lethal basically every turn for the rest of the game.
yeah. It's difficult to come back from this.
What's that?
It's he's got a Wipe Away, which is a boomerang that has split second and costs 1 blue. So he will be able to get rid of that Chalice, but I don't think it's really gonna.
It's not quick enough.
Yeah.
Like a turn ago, that would have been probably slightly more doable, but I think at this point it's
especially with him, like Tony has to do nothing. All he has to do is animate these Mutavaults and right click attack all. Like, so he is wipe awaying the Lord and taking 4, going to 4.
Yep.
The thing that really is has endangered Jacob from coming back into this game is just he hasn't hit any land drops. He had to exile a Ponder to fight over that Aether, and he just hasn't been able to play cantrips in order to set himself up to get lands in play.
So there we go. Tony won game 2. I think Jacob tried to cast.
Yeah, well,
with the Chalice on one.
With Chalice, it's an interesting kind of situation to set you up in, because at events where you're playing it competitive, where your opponent can miss triggers, a lot of people, once a Chalice comes into play, they're like, oh, I just can't cast these 1-drops.
Yeah,
or I just can't cast these 0-drops.
It's not Sanctum Prelate.
Yeah, it's not Sanctum Prelate. And a lot of the time, when your opponent has a Chalice out, sometimes you just got to run it. I've definitely had matches where my opponent's Chalice has been one-sided. It's really only counted my opponent's spells, and whenever I've cast a spell, they've been like, "Yep, that resolves." I'm like, "All right, well, don't worry about it, Chalice." I had a game against Merfolk where his Curse Catcher got countered by his Chalice in the first main phase. He went to combat, and then the second main phase, he cast a Phantasma Image, and I was like, alright, well, spell snare it. And he's like, yep, my image is counted. I was like, alright,
Sure,
yep,
okay.
that's the way I want to be. That's how I want my opponent's chalices to function all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. It's not up to you.
Yep.
It's up to them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a pretty quick first matchup that we saw, Hightide versus Merfolk. Pretty good. I mean, it seemed quite one-sided, but
yeah, it definitely seemed like it's a matchup that Jacob might not be familiar with, as the Chalice kind of caught him off guard both times.
I mean, I think I've only played against Merfolk twice before. I mean, I haven't played that many Legacy events. One was Eternal Masters in 2015, and I think the other was at a GP side event. And the first time I came up against it, I didn't even know what was happening. They played an island and then an Aether Vial, and I was like, what is this? And I was quite new to Legacy at the time, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting matchup. But yeah, not one you kind of have to think about really quite quickly and adapt to their play style and how they deploy their creatures and how they shut you off from playing Magic, essentially.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of counting going on, a lot of like, how big is this guy? Like, how many lords do you have?
Yeah.
That makes like this guy this much. Yeah.
A lot of clarification with your opponent to make sure that you're not going to die if you don't block, or you know, you have to like double block something. All right, so yeah, that's it.
Right.
Cool.
Join us back for game 2, match 2.
Match 2.
Match 2. Eventually.